Hello everyone, I am Jatan Tandon, pre-final student of Computer Science Engineering branch from ICSIT Indore. Here I am presenting the project that I have made in the Skill Development Lab. Is the government job listing portal where I was supposed to list the portals, jobs that have been listed on the government portals for the government vacancies. So here I will be sharing the insights and the knowledge of the technology that I have learned so far. Okay, so for technologies, like I have for the front end, like it is a full stack project. So for the user interaction and the UI I have used the React.js, and for the state management I have used the Redux toolkit, and for the backend server for is of Node.js and the Express.js library for it for convenient, and we'll be looking in it in further depth. And for the database I have used the MongoDB non-SQL database, and I have used its cloud instance and then connected it into my projects. Then I have used the Thunder client for testing the API, and ultimately the main aim of the project is the web scraping. For that I have used the Cheerio library of Express.js. So let's first move towards the introduction of the React.js. So what is a React.js? Basically for the front end, like we have learned the HTML, CSS and JavaScript, so we can also make the projects on it. But for the user convenience and for enhancing for building more complex applications, like the single page applications, which the single page applications focus, like we can say that whenever a user want to interact with the user interface, then the page doesn't reloads at each request. So this is a single page application that the whenever user want to access some data from the server, or whenever want to make some changes to the user interface, then the application should not reload again, and thus it is named as a single page application. So we can now for consider like as the React.js is used to build the front single page applications. Okay, so this is the introduction of React.js. Basically, React.js is a library, and we can also use the AngularJS instead of it. Like AngularJS is a complete front-end framework, but React.js is a library. Like there is a difference between the library and the framework. We can easily search it on some other websites. It's not like to be dealt like here. Okay, so what are the advantages of using React.js here? Okay, so we have till now seen that what is the basic introduction of the React.js library. So what are the main advantages of using React.js instead of others? Like it is easy to learn, first thing. Okay, and the next advantage is that it basically uses a virtual DOM for rendering the original DOM and for making the for achieving the purpose of the single page applications, while as the Angular uses some dependency injections, and for the like component based architecture it also uses the component based architecture. But basically Angular uses a particular approach that is not that much fast, but the concept of the virtual DOM is much faster. So what is basically virtual DOM? If we see like what is first the DOM is a document object model. So like if we can see here, like there this is a window, so there will be internally when the browser will be running this, there will be a single object window, and in that the whatever the UI is displayed to us is the document, and it also contains a document object. Okay, so basically document object, what it does, what is a document object? A document object is the hierarchical representation, tree hierarchical representation of the all the elements of the HTML, or we can say the whatever the language we are using to like here I have used HTML. So whatever the texts are there uh, is represented in the form of a tree hierarchical structure. Okay, so this is all known as the, this is completely known as the virtual this is the known as a document object model. Okay, so what it does is that the like whenever we want to render something, so what React just does, React just internally creates a copy of this particular DOM, which is known as the virtual DOM, and made changes to first to this virtual DOM, and then it is copied back into the real DOM. Okay, so this particular approach fastest like it is it does not take too much time for rendering the change in the UI to the user. Okay, so basically it fasts the process of user interaction, and the working of the single page application is also achieved faster for it. So what are the features that I have used for the React.js? Basically, I have used the firstly I have used the routing for displaying and for rendering the different type of components at a particular route. If we see here, like in the index.js file, like yes, before, like we till now we have got the introduction on what is the React.js library, and we also seen the advantages of it. So first we look at like how does it actually works. Also one thing is that for this is the whole known as the front end single page application frameworks. So what this frameworks does, this frameworks follows a component based architecture. So what does it mean? Like the all the code of the CSS, JavaScript, and all the HTML elements are not in the single file. Basically the complete user interface is divided into some pieces of components. Okay, so this is the window that I have selected. The button which I am hovering, the add addition button which gives me the new tab, is also a component. So everything is broken down into a component, and a separate logic of complete HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is applied for these components. And also this component can be imported and exported through the infrastructure and the internal working of the React.js or AngularJS, whatever the framework or the front end library we uses. Okay, so this is the basically working of the component based architecture. And what is the advantage that it simplifies the understanding, and the gives us the convenient for making the complex projects. And also component based architecture allows us to make the reusable components. Like if I have made a particular component once, then I can use it on the different pages and on the wherever whatever and how many times I want. Okay, so what the component based architecture does here is that, like, there is a public file in the index.html. So this index.html, this index.js contains all the code of it. Okay, so this is the public folder contains the static things. Okay, but as we noted that single page application doesn't contain only the static things, it will contain the dynamic, hence it is a single page application, and it is the whole, we can say that, the purpose of using the React.js. Okay, so now we speed up for the learning what we have learned in React.js. So let's have a quick look on what the index.js does. Index.js does nothing. It whatever the HTML is written to it, it basically replaces in the root tag, like we can say that in the with the ID of the root element in the index.html, and the whatever components and the whatever the code is received for the index.js, it comes from the app.js file. Okay, so what this app.js file contains, and this app.js file contains the whatever component that I will list here is will be rendered in the original file. Okay, so basically we can say that if a component X is listed in this particular app.js file, then this component will be rendered. And how it will be rendered, its code will be sent to the index.js file, and index.js file bypasses or handovers to the index.html files. Okay, so if we look on the syntax working of the app.js files, so basically like there is a one more thing that I missed. Like React.js library also uses a particular specific file extension. It is known as the JSX file. Okay, so it is known as the JavaScript XML. So what does it does? Like JavaScript XML means the HTML is embedded with the intelligence of JavaScript. Okay, so what it allows to us, like if we have a closer look on it, so this is the particular all the HTML kind of stuff is there, but we can write it with the intelligence of the JavaScript. We can perform the manipulation, the computation on its elements also. Okay, and internally this all the HTML codes is converted into the React elements by the React's inbuilt functions and the libraries. Okay, so this is the .jsx file, the .jsx extension. Okay, now coming for the syntax of the React.js components is that if you look like whatever the dependencies that I am using in the current file will be declared here. Okay, and whatever the logics I can write directly here, like this. There I have declared a particular function in which I have done I am doing some another functions and blah 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 things. Okay, so what is the a single .jsx file contains, it contains some logic, some piece of logic of the JavaScript in the above part, and the some piece of the HTML elements in the return function. Okay, so this return function contains what? The HTML that will be internally converted into JavaScript by the React.js functions in the library. So this is the whole syntactical view of the React.js. Okay, now the for looking at the features that I have used here. Okay, so for routing, what I have done here, I have used the routers, and whatever the path we have defined, like this is the path which I am clicking on it, and the browser is rendering this path and the particular component that is associated with this particular path. Okay, so here we define the particular paths and the components which we want to render a particular path. So this whole thing is known as the routing, and we have provided it to the router provider, and whatever the component is to be displayed according to the path that has been provided by the user will be, we can say that, rendered here and displayed to the user. Now using the talking about the hooks, what are the hooks? Hooks are the some inbuilt functions, or we can say that the reusable functions, or the, like I said, the services that a particular React provides. So what it does, it provides us the functions and the some other convenience to use this function again and again, and with the its proper power. So I have used the custom hooks. So basically custom hooks are the pre-inbuilt functions that is made by the JavaScript, and we can also define the some custom hooks also. Okay, so I have used the use state and the use effect custom hook and the use dispatch and the use selector. We will look at later these particular things. Okay, use state does what? The state means the variables and the data we have defined for a particular component. Okay, so use state does what? It takes a particular variable, set of variables. It can be a JSON array, JSON object, array, and anything, even a single variable. So it binds a particular variable with a particular function which is responsible for changing its values. So if you have a closer look on how the use state works, like there is a variable user which has the email and password initially, and the function associated with is the set user. Okay, so whenever I want to change the value of this particular state, this particular variable, I used to set a call the set user function and pass the whatever the element and whatever the data, sorry, element not, whatever data I have to put and assign to the particular variable. Okay, so this is the function of the use state, and similarly use effect is a function like this function is responsible for it basically decides the life cycle of the component, or not basically defines it is the implementation of the life cycle of the component. Basically a component, when it will be rendered in the starting, at which time it should be rendered, and at last it should be rendered, is done and is decided by the use effect hook. Okay, so use effect hook in this we see, like there are the hooks which I have defined, and the use effect of what I'm passing, like this is a dependency array in which we pass the arrays and which pass the attributes, the arrays, and whatever the data which should be well, like what this dependency array contains is that whenever something changes that has been passed in this dependency array, the whole this component in which the use effect, the code, or basically the code in which this use effect contains. Okay, so this code will be executed, or this code will be run executed whenever the anything in the use effect is called, and also at the very starting when all the complete application will be loaded, this use effect will be run. Okay, now talking about the other thing, Redux toolkit. So basically, in short, what is the Redux toolkit? Redux toolkit is nothing but state management. Like I have already said that state are the variables and the data are associated with a particular component. So if we want to make a particular data related to component global and made it accessible to other components also, I have to make that particular we can say the data and the variables globally. So in short, Redux is the global state management. In what we does in the Redux in which creates a particular type of stores. Okay, particular stores and the name slots that I will be defining in the store. Okay, so by the name of the user there is a user reducer. Okay, so it's some inner file of it. Okay, So if I have a look, what is the user slice? Basically it provides a particular slot of the area for storing the variables related with a particular user. Okay, so I have created some initial state, some data, and I will be having some name of the functions which used to be uh, manipulate the data, access and manipulate the data of the variables that I have declared in the slice of the particular user, or particular whatever the name that I have to give that particular collection of variables and data. So this is all about the Redux toolkit in short, and what the dispatch and the selector have. Okay, so dispatcher is means like whenever we want to access, whenever we want to pull something from the from the Redux store, we use the dispatch function, and from this dispatch function we, sorry, I was wrong at that point. Whenever we want to push something and we want to update the data in the global state in the in a particular slice, then we instantiate use dispatch in the dispatch, and we pass the argument of the argument. In the argument we pass the particular function that will be dealing with the manipulation of that particular set of variables. Okay, so this is the dispatch. And basically similarly selector, if you want to select from the store, we define from which slice I have to select the data, and I select the particular the objects and the whatever I want to select from that particular selector. So this is all about in short of the React.js. We have seen the introduction, the advantages, the features uh, which I have used in my particular project, the Redux toolkit, the dispatcher and the selector. Okay, so we will be looking next the Node.js and the Express. Okay, so far we have seen the React.js and the front end stuff that I have used in my project. Okay, now the next technologies which I have learned is for the backend. Backend basically serves the function to all the requirements that had been that has to be made for the client. The client requires something to be get accessed or to be processed from the server, and for that server, the technology which is used for serving the clients for interacting with the database is commonly Node.js and Express.js. So first we see what is a Node.js. Node.js is a backend environment, backend running server environment. Okay, so all the server which is the code which is responsible for serving the API calls. We will also see what are the API calls. API calls that will are made. We can say that for now API is nothing but a request that is made by the client, and it is a responsibility of the server to serve it by doing some a series of functions and whatever is to be required by the client. So the main body, which is main the foundation of the backend, is made by the server, this Node.js. So Node.js is the backend runtime environment in which we all write all the logic and all the code where the to design our server. Okay, so Node.js is basically run environment, and the compiler we can also say that for executing the code. Like with the JS, we can say that the language which will be used for coding is JavaScript, and the Node is the whole package which provides us the more built-in functions for making us convenient to write the backend server logic. Okay, so Node.js we can also see that like in the browser. If I open this browser and if I does here like here all here itself, if I does the console.log, so here the console comes, and if I refresh it and if I write 2 plus 2, then it will automatically gives me the 4. So the whole execution of this the with backend, or we can say that the body which is executing this particular code. And if I also write something else here like hello, so hello is written to me in this way. If I declare a particular const variable equals to hello. Okay, now if I call the variable, it's not calling right now. Okay, so if I declare a particular variable, let a equals to 5. Okay, so if I run yes, I have declared 5 here. Okay, and if I call the write the 5, then it will return me the value. So the execution of this JavaScript is done at the browser level, is done by the this console which is responsible for executing this particular code. Very similarly, all of the code that I will write for the backend in the JavaScript language, which is it will be compiled by the Node.js package. Okay, or we can say the Node.js framework better. Okay, so what are the basic terminologies for so far we've seen what is Node.js, and we can also we will later on look at what is Express.js. Before it, we first see what is the server creation. Basically, server is like a kind of a continuously running script, or we can say that a piece of code which listens to a particular port number. Now here the server is binds to a port number, and this port number is identifies as the backend server identity, and this port number is used to make the calls and the request from the front end. Okay, so what the we have the first we do in the backend, we first create the server and we start listening listening. If I show you the code of the creating the server, you can see here as yes, I have created like a server by using the first I have imported from HTTP. HTTP is the module of the Node.js, and I have imported HTTP from it, and by using some piece of code I have created a server, and later on we will see what this codes all does. But for now we just focus on creating the server and listening to it. Okay, so there is a property I have called of the server object listens, and the whatever port number we want to bind with our backend server we pass here. Okay, we declare here and pass in this particular listen function, and the whatever other functions I have to call when and every time the server listens we can add here. Okay, and whatever confirmation I have to make, I can write here also. Okay, so what is the like how the I compiles a particular program like in the whole backend files in backend, or we can say that the development module there are so many files, but there is one single entry level file which is known as the index.js files, and from this particular point it is the entry point into the backend folder, and from here all the things, all the imports and all the routes controller and all of the stuffs of the backend is called. Okay, so if I want to run it, then I will simply write node index.js, so it will compile my particular this file. So for further modification in it, however there is a nodemon module. Okay, node mon module. Okay, so once we install it, then we have to just mention in the package.json file. Package.json file is nothing but you can say that package.json is the we can say that the configuration file which contains the all of the dependencies and whatever the we can say that the controller, not basic controller, it gives us the a very abstract idea of our whole backend folder, what are the dependencies are installed in it, and which on which version it is working, what is the name of the script that we have so far mentioned. Okay, so we can you can see that I have mentioned node 1 and npm run server is the command for running these. So what it provides to me, when once if I doesn't node 1, what will I be required to do? I will require to write again and again node index.js, node index.js again and again whenever I want to compile my index.js and run my server. But if I do the node one, if I install it and runs its script on the terminal, the server is continuously listens to me until I explicitly close it. Okay, and whenever whatever changes I made is reflected to me in the runtime itself, so I will not require to again and again compile the index.js file. So this is the advantage of node 1. Okay, now what is the express library? Like we can and create analogy of like the basic technology for which the front end depends is the HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Despite it we uses React.js. So React.js is something built over this basic technologies. Okay, so to provide the faster development and the faster user better user convenience. So for here also express.js is a library of node.js itself, which fastens the which gives the ease of backend development. Okay, so it's in it is nothing but a particular library which we can install. It provides various like different kinds of functionalities and modules to us Like from it we can see that yes, I would be required to, yeah, like if I search from the here express, yes, we call the app.express. Sorry, we just call the express function, and what from where I have imported it from the express library, which I would be required to install through the terminal. Okay, so you can see that it seriously reduces our lines of code and provides a clear and the reduce the complexity of the creating huge and the high level industry level projects. Okay, so this is the all about the express library. You can learn all of the things that I like. I have not used so many things of all the things of the expresses. Whatever I will have used, I will explain here is shortly. Now, what are the API routers? I have also told you that what are the API. Now it's time to understand that API is nothing but a application programming interface. Okay, oh, it is the full form of it. Now, what does it mean? Like, if I want to access a particular something, some data from a system to of then data of the some other system, then that system or particular organization doesn't provide me the whole access of the database. Okay, and because I want only some of the data, and it's very similarly if some other organization or some other piece, other region, or you can say that the company officials want to access some of my data, then I will also won't provide the access of whole database. So there is a API, you can say that the middleman, which does what, it carries our request through the other system and grants for the like this much is asked by the need to be accessed by a particular organization, and this API is then served and the data is to be returned by this through this API. So security is also maintained and the data sharing is also maintained by use of these APIs. Okay, now what are the API routers? We can say that like there will be some URL on which the particular API will be hitting. Now what I will be required to execute a particular sequence of functions is decided by the routers. Routers are nothing but provides a particular sequence of function which needs to be executed whenever a particular path is hit. Okay, so I have followed here a MVC architecture. MVC architecture is the model view controller. It is the file architecture used to development. There are other also architectures also. Okay, so what I have done, we will see what are the models when we will be studying for the database. Okay, so here I was required to go for the routers. So what are the routers? If I see that like if I have defined a particular sort of route, there is a form of the route. Okay, so this short form of the route is required with a particular get method. Then what will I do? I will import, or sorry, I will run the this get departments function. Okay, so I will be I can assume that if I have written a particular piece of functions in a different files, then I can import it from here, from there also. Okay, so the main point is that a router provides us what I it provides a very clear and the very abstract view of it, that particular path or a particular field, like this is all the customized, we can change it name also. So I don't require to keep all the things in a single file. I have declared get departments or whatever the functions are that I will be required to execute. I have declared and the calculated or implemented in another file, and I have imported in this particular file. Now, what is the purpose of these jobs routes? I have created a router object here. Okay, and the if a particular this part is hit, then I will execute this particular function, and I can also execute a multiple functions by a particular sequence. Now I have exported this particular router. Now this will be imported in the index.js files, and here I will provide the starting part of the URL. Like the basic URL will be like http localhost and 3000. After that, what the app.use does, it appends this particular path in the back of this and also jobs route. Now what is done by here, if a particular this initial portion of the path is detected, what a router will do, router will hand over the execution of the API to the job routes that I have imported from the file we have just recently seen. Okay, so what here is done is that a particular API path is broken into sub portions, and these sub portions is then assigned to particular routes that we have created in the different files. So it provides a very clear and the very systematic organized view for executing, for managing, and for creating and developing the API endpoints. Okay, so we have seen now, if I see where is the original business logic which I will be writing to serve a particular API, we have seen so far through the routes, like how the API path, if a particular path is hidden, then how the particular set of functions is executed in a systematic manner. Okay, so if now comes the point of the business logic. Here I have written all the brute for all the main coding. We can set it the backend writing. So here in the controller files, I have write it and I will export it from here. Like there is also one thing in the Express JS library. Everything, whether it is a variable, array, JSON object, or a function or a class, everything is a module, is we can interpret it as a module, and we can export it from other file, and we can import it from any other file by using the correct paths. Okay, so I have exported this particular function from this particular file, and whether wherever I will be required to execute it, I can simply import it by specifying the particular correct path. So this is all abstract view of backend technology that I have learned, and I have also shown you through the code how it actually works. Okay, now we will be moving forward for the main thing. Next thing is the MongoDB database. Now why I am requiring a database, because I can't store all the things in the local storage because it is volatile. Okay, so I need to have a particular set of stable memory, memory management, database management system, and for that I am using a MongoDB database. Let's quickly resolve it. Just yes. Now, now why? What is a MongoDB database? Like there are different kinds of database, relational, SQL, and non-SQL database. So basically, non-SQL databases are used because of its ease of defining and querying and using it in our development. One point is that it's a easy architecture and easy learning curve. Also, one thing is that if our requirement is not such of a, like if we doesn't want our system, like if we want that our data can be redundant and can be duplicated to some extent, means the normalization, we can see that if you go through the deep concepts of the RDMs, there is a concept of the normalization which ensures the no redundancy and duplication on the database. So if it doesn't, if we don't have any problem, if our database are not that much normalized, then I will be using a NoSQL database. And it is because if there are less number of tables, less number of documents, so the data is stored at a particular centered place, and I can easily fetch it by using less number of manipulations. So hence the querying of a particular set of data is the querying time is very less. So it is mostly preferred at the in the cases of the web developments to using the MongoDB database. Okay, so this is all about the short introduction of the MongoDB database. Now comes of the model creation, like very analogous to what are the models. So models are nothing but the schema of the data which defines the what kind of data and how it will be stored. And instead, if I would have used a PostgreSQL or a MySQL database, then I would be required to create tables instead of the models. So there I have also told that it is a model folder, and what I have declared in it, I have used some sort of functions, some attributes, like this is the name of the particular schema. We can collect, we can say that like there, so everything will be in the form of the JSON object. Okay, so like let me just write some abstract view. Okay, so everything will be in the JSON format in the record, like the analogous to RDBMS databases, relational databases, SQL databases. There used to be a tuples, a set of values. Instead of it, a single record is represented as a JSON in case of the MongoDB, and this JSON, this collections of is this particular JSON is known as the, more formally in the language of the MongoDB, is known as a document, and these collections of or we can say that a group of these documents are known as the collection in collection in MongoDB, and it is analogous to tables because a collection of records will be a table, and in MongoDB collection of JSON or the JSON objects or the documents will be called as the collection. A group of documents will be called as a collection here. Okay, so I have created a schema for a particular collection, and what will be the structure of each document I have described here already, and I have exported it from here. Now what this will be done whenever I will be required to create a particular instance of a schema or instance of a model, I will simply what I will do, I will simply import a particular user, and I can use the like yes also. Here I have, if we see on a closer look at it, yes, in the mongoose, like yes, I missed a single point that while creating a module, while creating a, we can say that the models or the schema of the tables, or we can say the whatever the uh, structure of the database, I have used here a mongoose library. Mongoose library is the express.js library which serves us the basic functions to query the database of the MongoDB cloud. Okay, so here first we look for the currently we are looking for the models, and once we complete it we can go for like how the actually I am using the MongoDB, whether I have created a local instance or a cloud instance. In shortly we will see it. Okay, now here the user models. No, I was in the controllers. So if I want to uh, create or use the structures, I will simply import it from the user model.js files, model files of the collections that I have made in the models folder. Okay, and here I can use this kind of functions where the user.find one functions, and like this is the user, and I want to find a particular we can set it a particular, if I we used to fire the query, write the query in the SQL databases, like select a particular select star from a table where the ID is the kind of blah 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 things. Okay, so this it is very analogous to that. If I want to find a particular document in a set of collection where email is as provided to me, then I can use simply these very simpler functions. So it basically made the writing of made writing the code for querying the database in a very easy format. Okay, so this is all about the writing the code and interacting from the end of the, like we can say that this is that whatever so far we have seen for the MongoDB, it is the view from the web development or the our whole code base, like how I created the models. What is the firstly I've seen we have seen the introduction of the MongoDB database and the view of from the backend development, like how we create the models, how we have used the built-in functions, and how these built-in functions can be used to create to write the business logic. Now if you talk about from the original database, the original memory, original hard disk where our whole data will be stored. So this is also a different view. So if you talk about the original storage of data, okay, so there are two stuffs that I can do. I can use local storage, or local storage doesn't mean the browser's local storage, local system storage, or basically more formally I should write local PC instance of MongoDB cloud, MongoDB database. Instead of it, for the more convenience nowadays, there are also services provided by the Atlas, a company of the MongoDB, and it provides the cloud database services. So here I used the cloud service of the database. So the all the data are not stored on my computer. The data is stored on the remote computers and by connecting, like how I got access to that data. Okay, so if I have done, if I can show you, like if we go for the MongoDB website, then I will create a particular account, and I will create an instance and cluster and make a database name. So if I create all such things and follow some set of instructions on the MongoDB website, MongoDB cloud website, okay, so then I will be able to create a remote instance of my data, my database. Okay, So now comes the point, like I have so far seen the web development view of the database, the creation of the database at the remote servers. Okay, now comes the point, like how our code base, our backend code base logic will be integrated to, will be connected to that remote, so that I am able to get the access, and I can insert and get the data from there, those remote computers and the remote memories. So there is a there are like there can be the different kinds of connection methodologies, but particularly right now I have used connection string method for creating for connecting the MongoDB clouds instances from my database. So I can copy, like the process.env, like if we want to like for where we will quickly see what is .env folder. So .env folder contains nothing but some security and some passwords and key kinds of things that I will be using in the my we can say that my web development, my whole code base. Okay, so there is a .env module of the express.js. We can install it and write the, because it provides like right now I'm talking, please don't confuse, I am right now talking about what I have written in this .env file. So .env file is nothing but a set of all the keys and the passwords to have a better clarity and the maintaining of the passwords, and for the security reasons also, and I can use it wherever I want by using the .env, the process.env functions and the objects. So here I can, by if I was at the point of connecting the cloud instances with my local code base. Okay, so from the MongoDB cloud website, I can copy this MongoDB connection string here, and there is a function which we can see from the documentation of the MongoDB database company. Okay, so from that I have used the mongoose method to connect and pass the mongoose string, and here for using this connection string, I can connect the cloud instances with my local code base. So this is all about the MongoDB database. We can further explore it, but I have used whatever I have used, I have taught you till now. Now comes the backbone of my projects. Like I was supposed to list the jobs from the government websites to my front end. So how I will be displayed, I have taught you by using the React.js technology, and how the backend will be run by using Node and Express.js, and how the data of this particular of all the jobs and the departments of the governments will be stored in the MongoDB database. Okay, so now comes the point, like how firstly I fetch the content, how I fetch the jobs from the websites, because if I have not I have not fetched the websites, then like if you consider a case that I have currently no fetched jobs from websites. So if I have no websites, then what will I, then there will be no use of the database, and if a database is not involved, then why I will create a backend, and for without backend how front end will work. Okay, so the main point is that like of my project is fetching the data and the jobs from the websites. So what is the web scraping? Web scraping is a act, we can say that is a practice that in which what we do in the web scraping, we uses some functions, we uses some technologies, some language to fetch or to scrape, like by the name we can say that, to scrape the web stuffs, the web data, a website, a web page, and whatever is available on the web, we can, the act of scraping and act of extracting the information from the worldwide, so online, we can say that the digital footprints, those scraping and extracting data from those things is known as the web scraping. And for web scraping there are various tools, various libraries, modules, and the various facilities, functions which will be provided by different programming languages, like Python provides beautiful soups, and whatever the other it provides it. But now for the express, as I've used for the making the edge of same environment, because if I used the Python's one library for scraping, then I may face some problems in interacting or in the integrating both environments. So for the environment convenience, I used the web scraping through the Cheerio library of Express.js. I can write cheerio.io library of Express.js for Express.js framework of the backend for scraping the websites. So what I will be doing, I basically how we if we see the how the web scraping works in a very short, in the very clear manner, in nutshell manner. Okay, so how it works, what we does at the web scraping, we first get the URL of a web page that I have to scrape. Then what will I do, I will made a request, I will made a HTTP request to that particular URL by specifying that I am a user, not I am a not a I am like a particular digital or the web scraping the bot, because those bots are blocked by some of the most of the websites of the organization for the security reasons. Okay, so I will require to specify that the scraping, which like the request, which is HTTP request, is made by whom, a particular user, so that we are allowed to get the data and extract the data from particular website. So far we get the URL of the web page that we have to extract, we have to scrape, and we used to make the HTTP request to the URL. Now in the response of the web page, what it does, it returns us a complete HTML of data web page. Okay, so now we have got the data we want to extract in the form of HTML, and by using some parsings, by using some regular expressions, extractions, okay, we can easily fetch our data. And this parsing and the extraction is made convenient by us by using some inbuilt functions of the module of the libraries of the web scraping. So let's quickly, we have seen the flow, how the data will be scraped from the external websites. Now we just have a quick look like how the scraping actually works. So the thing which I have told you, okay, I will get the URL, and whatever is URL I will get, I will make a HTTP request by using the Axios library of Express.js. Axios library provides a more convenience and a more easier way to make the HTTP request. Okay, so I have here specified the URL. Now here that I have told to be able to get and not blocked as used to be blocked, as the website used to block the bots and the AI bots for the security reasons. So we will specify the user agent exists as the name of Aegis. Okay, so now here I will get the response, and in the serial.load, if I load the response data of this response, everything is stored in this particular dollar symbol. Now what is this dollar symbol? Dollar symbol is nothing like a convenient, like a convention of the jQuery. jQuery is the JavaScript framework, we can say. No, it's a library. Yes, jQuery is a JavaScript library. You can also search for it in some other time. So this dollar contains all the data that I have fetched here. Now this dollar form, I can extract the name of the there are some HTML elements, div elements, some headers, h1 text, h2 text, div elements, and some tables element. So by specifying the name of the element, I can extract from it, from the dollar symbol, and I can perform some scraping that I have by using some built-in functions of dot cells, text stream, and here I can get the particular result, whatever the data I want to get. So this is the mark of wrapping up of all the project data we have seen so far. Okay, so this is all about the project and the technologies that I have learned. I hope you have understood whatever I have taught to you. So thank you so much for giving your time.